Teaching methods. A teaching method comprises the principles and method used for instruction. Commonly used teaching methods may include class lecture, demonstration, collaboration, or combinations of these. The choice of teaching method or methods to be used depends largely on the information or skills that's being taught, and may also be influenced by the aptitude and enthusiasm of the students. In general, a qualified instructor must remain calm and patient to be an effective educator. Exercising self-control and remaining consistently calm and patient makes a positive impression on your students and enhances their ability to process information. QIs must not adopt the emotions of their students and become frustrated or impatient with the material. A QI should be a guide on the side rather than a sage on the stage. As students work through the online exam modules, the QI guides students in the right direction and keeps them on course. The QI answers questions as they come up to the best of their ability using a combination of lecture, demonstration, and collaboration. Lecture. Lecturing is the process of teaching by giving spoken explanations of the subject that's to be learned. Lecturing is often accompanied by visual aids to help students visualize an object or problem. Lecturing may meet the needs of auditory or visual learning preferences, but often fails to meet the needs of individuals with other learning preferences, such as kinesthetic or social learners. Kinesthetic is doing tactile stuff with your hands, like turning a bolt with a wrench. These passive lectures have been transformed through videos. Students have more control over a lecture which has been recorded and turned into a video lecture for them to watch. When students watch a video lecture, they can pause, rewind, play at 2x speed, and then repeat the lecture if they'd like. Students appreciate having control over the content rather than sitting in a passive lecture like this one. Demonstration. Demonstrating is the process of teaching through examples or experiments. A demonstration may be used to prove a fact through a combination of visual evidence associated reasoning. For example, QI may teach a chart navigation concept by solving a problem for the students on a chart. Demonstrations are similar to written storytelling and examples, and they allow students to personally relate to the presented material. Memorization of a list of facts is a detached and impersonal experience, whereas the same information conveyed through demonstration becomes personally relatable. Demonstrations help to raise students' interest and reinforce memory retention because they provide connections between facts and real-world application of those facts. Collaboration. Collaboration allows students to actively participate in the learning process by talking with each other and listening to other points of view. Collaboration establishes a personal connection between students and the topic of study, and it helps students think in a less personally biased way. During chart navigation, students may pair themselves together and work as a team to accomplish the online quizzes and practice problem sets. They tend to check their measurements and calculations amongst each other. This can be very productive for groups of students, but it may cause stress and anxiety for a student who's not paired with the group. The QI is likely to become the lone student's group member and mentor. When students pair up and charge ahead of the rest of the class, care must be taken that the average paced or slower students not working with the group are not discouraged. It's a good practice to encourage the slower students to check answers and data against the information already submitted by other students. For example, a student may ask another, "What was the distance you got in set and drift practice problem 5? Was it 11.5 nautical miles?" Groups must be monitored to ensure that one student isn't doing all of the work and giving answers to the others just to go through the material faster. Bringing it all together. Chart navigation is a fantastic example of the teaching methods discussed coming together. It starts with a lecture, which gives an overview of the problem set. The QI demonstrates how to solve one of the problems by doing it on a chart. After the practice problem demonstration, students begin solving problems on their own charts, which leads to collaboration between the students. The QI becomes the mentor or guide for the students as they work through the practice problem sets. When a question about a practice problem arises, the QI starts from the beginning of the problem and works through it until the solution presents itself. Don't get caught up in a student's numbers. Do the practice problem from the beginning to the end. Compare your work with that of the students. Students can then correct their method of solving the particular type problem and keep working their way through the practice problem sets. So these teaching methods, you got the lecture, demonstration, collaboration. Lecturing, it can be a passive lecture will put a student to sleep, especially after lunch. If they eat lunch and you come in and try to give a long lecture about something, they're going to glaze over, probably even fall asleep in their seat, right? Demonstration's going to be a little bit better, where you get a group of people around your chart, you're demonstrating the problem and really giving physical examples. This is kinesthetics. This is like the students they get the parallel rules and they move them. Time starts passing really fast. Chart nav can go for 3 days, and each day goes so fast because they have their parallel rules. They're moving them on the chart. They have their dividers. They're getting distances from the latitude scale and walking them on the chart, and then putting their parallel rules and walking to a compass rose, and they're gaining all this kinesthetic or tactile learning through this. And then you have the collaboration, and that kind of brings it all together. Your lecture lays it out, the demonstrations give what they want to do, and then they start using the materials and collaborating with each other, comparing distances, comparing calculations. Oh, what was the time distance? You got your end time minus your start time. What was the difference in time? What'd you get for the minutes instead of hours? You're converting hours to minutes and minutes to hours and back and forth and comparing those numbers. And then, what I find the most interesting, though, is that students would rather, if they're going to have to listen to a passive lecture, they would rather watch a video of that passive lecture. Because then, as mentioned, you can rewind it, you can pause it, you can replay it, you can play it at 2x speed so students can take it in faster, or they can watch it at 2x speed twice and take notes on it. But they really appreciate having the control over the material. So what I've learned is you're sitting in a classroom. Let's say there's 9 students in there. You introduce a subject like chart nav. It really starts there. You introduce the full subject. Like, okay, here we're in chart nav. This is what we're going to do. We're going to solve all these practice problems. Get into your online module and get into the first set and play the overview, and then watch practice problem 1 and practice problem 2. The instructor can solve one. That's all right. But the videos give the students control. They can watch the overview a couple times, understand it. Watch practice problem 1, and they'll watch it, part of it, pause it, do it, play it until I do the next step, and then they'll do the next step and then pause it and play it and continue like that. And what I found, and then they'll get it and they'll go off on their own and they'll solve a bunch of practice problems. If they have a question, they might ask the instructor, or they might go back to the video. They might go back to the practice problem solution video and rewatch that and go step by step. And what I found is I could tell that a student was moving on to another topic when they put their earbuds in and click play. So you're sitting there and they're moving from one topic to another. You look over and a student, they put their pencil down, put their earbuds in, push play on their laptop, and they're watching the screen. That's how I know the student is moving on to another topic or correcting a problem that they've run into, like getting the solution to a problem that's arisen. And so this, as a qualified instructor, you become a guide on the side rather than a sage on the stage, right? Super old school, you'd stand on a stage and lecture passively to hundreds of students. I've been in my lecture halls at Western Michigan University. There were 400-500 kids once in a while, and you just sit there and glaze over. You weren't even a part of it. But now, and with these online exam modules, ChartNav we're using for the example, the student controls the pace. The student controls, they control so much more than just being passively lectured to. You're basically just there because you have to at that point. But these videos are really good for the students. And yeah, I think that's about it. What do you think? Leave some comments.